What's up, everybody? I haven't even, girl, we are down here. I got a new lip gloss. I was going to tell y'all about it, so I have it in my hand because I was like, oh, I got to tell them about this new lip oil. This is the color of it. And I got it in an Instagram shop called Jules. Jule, Jule. And I was like, ooh, it's a lip oil. Look at it. Ooh, look at the color. Look at It's not a lot of oil in there. I was like, oh, it's not really a lot of oil in there. But this is how it looks. I love a little lip oil with a little tint. So I got It's good. So I just got it yesterday. So I'll let y'all know how it is. But it's oily. It's a lip oil. It's good. It's not too thick. It goes on smooth. It feels smooth, not too like gunky. My lips don't get stuck. My lips aren't dragging across each other. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know what's going on. I was watching those two pastors, the Steeles, they went on Dear Future Wifey podcast. And when I tell you they got some backlash, but then a psychologist, her name is Dr. Raquel Martin, PhD. She's a licensed clinical psychologist, a professor, scientist, all the things. And she came on she came on the Dear Future Wifey podcast to talk to Lateris and the Steeles about how they came across and how what they were describing was abuse and how they should have been more responsible in making it clear that this is not what it looks like. If you're going through what they described they were going through, that's not a marriage or a relationship that you quote fight to stay in when you're being abused. And when they were talking about how it was such a long time ago, that's why they were probably laughing. But the irresponsibility and acting like you don't understand how there are so many women in church with their eyes just wound up and not seeing anything and believing like, oh, I'm going through this, so this is what I'm supposed to go through. Almost like a confirmation bias for like, oh, if she went through it, okay, then I guess it's okay that I'm going through it too. And they were like, no, Dr. Raquel was like, no, you can't, that's not, you have to be clear that this is not how you operate. And furthermore, this idea of acting like being single is a punishment and that you have to endure these harmful relationship dynamics in order to be, seen in God's eyes as a good servant. I don't know. But it I'll put the link to it. It's a couple of hours. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of it.
And things like that, because I know your whole goal is transparency, and when we talk about transparency and increasing the aspect of Black marriages, I think we also have to think about if we're putting marriage on a pedestal instead of healthy relationships, because those things aren't always synonymous.
Absolutely, totally agree. Steels, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, back to the pastoral thing, James 3:1 says, I desire that many of you not be teachers, for your judgment will be stricter. To your point, Latarius, if I was a pastor at that time, obviously my accountability would be held a lot higher because the word of God says where much is given, much is required. But at that time, again, I was between the ages of 19 and 24. I'll be 54 this December. So we're coming up on 30 years later. And maybe some people were offended that there was some laughs. It's been 30 years ago. We've healed from that. The act will always be, but the pain that was associated with the act, we have been healed from it. We can laugh about it 30 years later. We have a sixth grandchild that'll be here in the next week. Right. So we're decades removed from that chapter. And I'm grateful that we didn't allow those bad chapters to end our story.
And I want to say this too, being his wife and a pastor, a mother, a grandmother, I want to say to the people out there that I wasn't um, aware of the secondhand trauma my story would cause. I've been so far removed from the pain, as you said, right, that we went through. Me talking about this is something I've talked about for over 20 years. This story's been shared over 20 years within our 20-year ministry in Arizona. So me talking nonchalantly about it, the way it came across, I didn't take into consideration that those that don't know us, right, and know our story or the culture of our church, I didn't consider how they would be traumatized by reliving maybe their own current situation or their.
And the part that I have watched up to so far, I do appreciate the fact that she is holding them accountable, because this ride or die, story that so many women tell, and then they're like laughing about it, and you're still with this guy, and he was like, she wasn't my type, she was too fat, and she was this and she was that, and all of these hurtful things. And no one at any time said, just to be clear, this relationship dynamic is not healthy. And yes, I went through it, but if I were to give a girl my advice, the advice now, I would tell her not to put herself through that. If a man is telling you you're not worthy and you're not this and you're not that, you do not stay in that kind of relationship for no grace, for no God, for no Jesus, for nobody. You leave that situation. So I'm glad they were clear on that, because we're not going to act like, not just in this system, but within the church, where that system is reinforced over and over and over again. It's like, it's no coincidence that 85% of congregations are women being fed or taught by a man. And a lot of that advice and what they're being taught is how to abandon yourself. And speaking of abandoning yourself, we're going to get to it. Abandoning yourself and acting like you are supposed to go through something like this. And I love the fact that Dr. Raquel was clear and saying, this is not it. You guys needed to be more responsible. What you are describing was acting like being single was a punishment. The way you describe what you put her through, like, and then like her talking about how she used to fold or iron her husband's clothes before he went to the side chick's house. And they're sitting up there laughing, but there's people watching, believing like, oh, okay, so I am supposed to go through stuff like that. Oh, so it's okay that I'm going through stuff like that. See, I thought I was fighting for my marriage by staying in a relationship that didn't serve me. See, I told you. And then the doctor was like, telling her, you being mad at your mom at 8 years old for getting a divorce or leaving your father, and being mad at her, and then growing up saying, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to have my marriage end, because I'm going to make sure that my children have a home. And you're so focused, like she said, so focused on marriages and not focused on healthy relationship. This thing where, oh, we got to get married, we got to get married. Get married for what? I don't even know you, you don't know me, you talk to me crazy, you ain't got your shit together. Like, we don't, just because we exist doesn't mean we should be married. And just because we're married doesn't mean I have to stay with you when you get beside yourself and start acting like a fucking fool. I don't have to stay about that. Divorce is an option. Leaving is always an option. That's why people don't want to do prenups and stuff like that. They don't want you to want to leave. They don't want you to even have in your head that, oh, there is an exit door. There is a door over there with exit in neon lights over the door. You can always go that way, girl. You can always get the fuck out. You can always do it. Speaking of abandoning yourself, yeah, so go watch that. I'll put the link in the comment. Y'all can go watch that. Show it to the girls. It's the women in the comment, the women of God. Y'all be so do 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 do. It's so sad, and then you be so do 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 for a just a fickle ass, regular ass man. but your religion helps you. It does help you view these creatures as if, they're just, oh, they're just men, and they are allowed to sin for a season of their life. And girl, shut up. Shut up. And it's sad because the male centering, the whole thing, like I said, it's white male heterosexual Christian. That Christian part of the system and feeding you patriarchal ideas. The Bible is a patriarchal playbook for men. Let me be clear. The Bible is a patriarchal handbook for men. Father God religions are for men to keep them in order, not you. You're collateral damage. If you partner with one of these weirdos and they practice this, and they're typically looking for a maid, a mule, and someone to lay on and use your body to masturbate, a mattress, a mammy. You standing in front of this man for everything. That religion, in addition to the patriarchy, it just keeps reinforcing these harmful relationship dynamics with men. Deshawn Snow was on Nene's podcast, and she was talking about how she didn't get renewed for Housewives season 2 for Atlanta. And was she surprised? She said she was. She also said she was surprised that Eric Snow filed for divorce. This was after he had already been cheating on her. After a baby was on the way, he decided we were going to file the divorce. She said in her head she wasn't leaving. She wasn't going to file. She didn't even know what was going on. And I was like, damn, girl, it seemed like you were in like a real bubble to where you didn't know you were going to get renewed. You didn't know your husband was cheating on you and then wanted a divorce afterwards. You wouldn't have filed. You wanted to fight for your marriage. That level of toxicity, coupled with this energy around being single. Oh my God, nobody has chosen you. You haven't been picked. No man wants you. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you married? So she's going to have to stay married. So she wants to stay married no matter what to Eric Snow. No matter what. He was cheating on you. She wasn't leaving. And when I'm telling you, when that religion is coupled with the patriarchy, it just allows men to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And the women are going to be right there being like, I'm standing by my man, my man, my man. This is by the grace of God. And I'm chosen to be by this man and help him through whatever the fuck. And it's really, y'all just literally just sacrifice yourself, your sanity, everything. And I'm gonna let you listen to Deshawn Snow and how she was oblivious to her not coming back to Real Housewives of Atlanta, the second season, and then her husband finally leaving her. He filed for divorce. She wasn't going to file for divorce, even though she had known that he had a baby on the way. They were in counseling. He was cheating, but she was going to stay. She said she wasn't going to leave. Listen to Deshawn Snow. So this is just going to be audio. We can't put the video up because we'll get copyright. But here, I want you to listen to her talk to Nene. It says, Real Housewives of Atlanta season 1 cast member and OG Deshawn Snow speak on their ex-husband having a baby outside of their marriage and him filing for divorce. I didn't know we needed to break up. I was surprised. So not only was she surprised about not getting renewed for Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was also surprised that her husband was having an affair and wanted a divorce. So listen to her.
Yes, we filed. He filed for divorce in 2010. Mm-hmm. Oh no, he filed. Yeah, in 2020. Would you have ever filed? I would not have filed. You would have never filed. So he had to file because you were never going to do it. Right. I mean, he filed because he wanted to file. Yeah, but what I mean is, in the relationship, like, you know that you need to break up. But I didn't know that we need to break up. You didn't think so? No. You didn't? No. That's my truth. I didn't. I was surprised, and then actually we were in counseling, and so I thought we were working it out. I don't understand. Me either. that shit. No.
She said, I don't understand either
What
shit.
I mean is, so you would have never filed, even though you know you need to file, you would have never done it. He had to do it. Like, you were never going to do it. You didn't care how bad it got. You were never going to do it, right?
Here's the thing, though. It wasn't like it was real bad and, we were having these problems and he wanted a divorce. It was like he told me, that, yes, we filed peace, that the girl was pregnant.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute, now, Deshawn. Now, that shit ain't no laughing game.
No, it's not.
No, how does somebody tell you that they got a baby, that somebody's pregnant and I'm going to file for divorce?
No, he didn't.
No, you're going to come home and I might think about killing you. So let's see how
Right.
it goes.
And so then we were in counseling and we were working through it, or I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then so in May, he filed in May, so the baby was born in March. And anyways, he said.
So basically, he's admitting to cheating. I have a baby on the way.
Right. So of course he had to tell me. So
yeah.
And I wasn't like, let's file. I was like, we're gonna work this out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You were never gonna file.
No, I wouldn't.
You would have just hung in there.
Like family say, we don't know how to cook. The cookie's probably gonna crumble anyhow.
Right.
God works and how he works. So
right.
I wouldn't have filed, but whatever would have happened, I don't know. I don't know that. I think we would have eventually got divorced. Okay. Go through all the things, but it never once did I say I'm leaving. That didn't cross my mind because I was supposed to break the generational curse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you what the generational curse is. Staying in a marriage that doesn't serve you. That's the generational curse. Staying in a relationship that doesn't serve you. That's the curse. And when I say the relationship, I mean the intimate relationships, the familial relationships. Staying in relationships that don't serve you is the generational curse. Okay? Let me get back to Deshawn.
Say I'm leaving. That didn't cross my mind because I was supposed to break the generational curse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We were committed. We can work through it. That was my mindset.
You are great.
We were together since freshman year in college. We built a life together. And he loved me. So we were in counseling, trying to work through that. Mm-hmm. But at some point along the line, he decided that's not what he wanted. And then he filed. And he gave me the courtesy of letting me know because it was going to be in the papers the next day. So that's how that went.
See, you so nice, girl. I'm just saying. That's so nice of you.
It's so nice.
The way you be holding it together is crazy to me. Like, it's good. I guess it's good, Deshawn. I don't know.
What hurt?
All the parts of you being able to.
What can I do? It is what it is.
You're right. What could you do?
Never once did I.
She said, the end of the day, what can you do? You could have been more in tune with yourself and what was going on around you. And I hope that you are in tune now. Because she was around, what was she? In her late 30s, early 40s, like the rest of them. So, how old is Deshawn Snow? And then the fact that she still has his last name. She's 52 years old. They got a divorce in 2010. So you've been divorced for 15 years and you still haven't changed your last name, Deshawn. Oh my God. He cheated. See, that's the part that really, girl. Insert the crying man, because girl, I'll be wanting to cry. Girl, let me tell you something. He cheated on you. That is not your name. You should have changed your name back a long motherfucking time ago. You've been divorced 15 years. Giselle Bryant is another one. I don't understand. I used to think that about my mother too. Like, girl, why haven't you changed your last name back? That is so weird, especially if you're in a marriage that especially, but either way, even if it's not especially. Girl, I'm so glad this is on. I know if it's on or not. I'm so glad that this thing is on, but especially if he cheated on you and it was like he mistreated you. He does not deserve anyone to carry his last name. That's the part of the psychosis that I was talking about, even with watching the Steeles talk to Dr. Raquel. This psychosis where the women are like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And God, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Genesis says, mm-hmm. Girl, something is wrong. It's giving cult. It's giving cult. It's giving cult. And so she was probably one of those women too. Like, I'm not going to divorce my husband. I'm supposed to break a generational curse. Girl, no. Leaving is breaking the generational curse. Putting a stop to you being abused is ending the generational curse, including the relationship with the people of the generation. Like, literally, that's where the generational curses need to be broken by the people from that previous generation who created all of this toxic, all of these imprints on you. It's that you gotta reevaluate those relationships. And for you to sit there and be like, well, I wasn't gonna divorce him. Even 3 months after he had a baby, for 3 months, and y'all was in counseling, girl, we wouldn't have been in divorce court. So my question, and just like from the Dear Wifey podcast, from Dr. Raquel's feedback, she should say, like, I think people should say, hey, listen, if I were like Nene, if I was an interview, I would have said, Deshawn, so if who you are now and what you know now, the woman today, what advice would you have given that 33, 43-year old, whatever? What advice would you have given that Deshawn Snow? What would you have told her why didn't you pay attention to this? Why weren't you looking at this? Why did you stay? What would you have told that Deshawn Snow based on what you know now? And I'm sure she would have been like, don't stay. Look, like, where are these questions? Because there are so many people who are in these weird relationship dynamics. And when they hear other people talk about their experiences in these weird relationship dynamics, they are only confirmed in what they are doing. And then they're like, oh, so what I'm doing and what I'm going through is not that bad. Yes, girl, it's as bad. It is as bad. Get out, run. And then here's what she said about, of course, I got to go all the way back to the post because the post refreshed. Girl, that's so stupid. I'm so tired of Instagram and that foolishness. So here's what she said about,
I wanted to know, were you surprised when you were not invited back for a second season? I was surprised because I figured it out. I was like, I wrote my books. I was like, okay, I know I gotta have this so that when it airs, that it's ready and all this. I have my little plan on. So I was really surprised. I was shocked. You were? Yeah. Were you hurt? I was disappointed. You were disappointed. But supposed to work out because I truly feel that I would not have wanted to go through my divorce on camera. The person I am today, I think I would have been fine. But the person back then, I think I would have been too concerned with what it looked like. Yeah. And from a divorce, like you can't be worrying about other stuff and dealing with, there's so much that you're dealing with. So I don't know that I would have been trying to deal with that and then try to look pretty and make it look pretty and all of that back then. Like now, the person I am today, it is what it is. And, I'm authentic and transparent and all that. Not that I wasn't back then, but I think I would have been concerned with what it looked like. After season 1, they wanted to know where you...
I'm going to read a couple of comments. I said the crazy part is y'all don't realize the generational curse is staying in a marriage that doesn't serve you. And I said Deshawn seems to have been surprised by a lot of things back then, huh? Surprised by the divorce, surprised by not getting renewed. I hope she's more in tune with herself and what's happening around her. Deshawn truly seems like one of those genuinely kind-hearted people, no matter what life throws her way. Lord, please continue to watch over and protect her. I would love for Andy to interview her to get it all. Love Nene, but she's going to come in with her own judgment, so it makes it hard to just hear her story in full. This is a good one. On another note, I'm not surprised she wouldn't have left. I remember rewatching old seasons, and she always seemed so giddy about her life and marriage, and seemed to be checked out. I'm happy she went through her issues in private. Early RHOA would have dimmed her light. You got to really love a man to stay after a child is produced during an affair. Actually, I don't think that women love the man after a man produces a child on them. I actually don't. I don't think you love a person after they do that to you, especially if you had a commitment and you were supposed to honor that commitment. Honestly, think it puts a dent, such a dent into a relationship when somebody has a baby, right? And it's different when a man does it because the baby is not there, right? And it's under another woman's care. But none of that shit would be okay if a woman came home and was like, "Oh, girl, I'm pregnant by another man. You gonna stay with me? You gonna stay?" Now I'm sure there are 5 or 6 men who have stayed in a marriage with a woman after she had a baby on him, right? But it's very few and far between. And I don't think that women love the man more or gotta love him. I don't think it's love. I think a lot of women stay because of what it looks like. Women are socialized to care about what it looks like. How does this appear? Because we are the way that women are, we're social creatures, right? We're social, and what's going on in community, what's going on in our neighborhood, what's going on around, we tend to care until we don't, about what it looks like. And a lot of women in fucked up jive ass marriages care about what it looks like. That's all they care about, is what it actually looks like to anyone looking in. You've been with this man 3 months after somebody has given birth, and you're in counseling to do what? Figure out how to consciously uncouple, because that would be the only reason why we're in counseling, so we can figure out how to dissolve this marriage amicably. That's the only thing we're going to do, because it's nothing. There's no counseling. You had a baby on me. You stuck your raw dick in somebody, girl. And we had a commitment. We didn't have an open marriage. We didn't have a ethical non-monogamous marriage. We didn't have a marriage where I said it's okay for you to stick your raw dick and shoot up the club and then the woman keep the baby and produce a baby. We only are in counseling to get a divorce. So I won't act a fool and slice your fucking head off your damn neck. Okay? That's the only reason why we fucking counseling, bitch. Cause so many women stay longer when a relationship is done, whether it was a baby, whatever the issue is. But so many women physically stay in a relationship long after it's overdue because of how it looks. They literally have to get up the nerve to be like, okay, oh, my marriage didn't work out. Fuck, okay. I was talking cash money shit about being married and my marriage didn't work out. Now I got to face the community and I got to tell the community that I'm getting a divorce. You know what I'm saying? But and instead of people being like, "Girl, it's okay. We get it. It's a rite of passage. Come on over." Whatever it is. I think women would be okay. It's guilt and shame that keeps people quiet in relationships that have expired. That's my theory. Guilt and shame keep you there, right? It might be a little finance too, especially if you have made the mistake by being financially dependent on a fickle ass man. That's crazy in itself. Even promoting that or encouraging that in any way. After I saw that man tweet, "I don't want a 50-50 relationship," and the women are like, "Yes, that's what I'm talking about." He said, "I want to pay all the bills so I can kick your ass out when I get good and ready." That's why. That's why. That's why you're like, "Oh my God, I found a man to take care of all the bills." He was like, "Bitch, I don't want no 50-50 at all. Girl, I'm gonna pay for everything." You like, "Yes, girl, yes." And he's like, "So I can put your ass out when I want to." Yeah, I want 50-50, nigga. Yeah. This is definitely going to be an equal partnership because that's what it is. It's going to be an equal partnership. I think people should market marriages as businesses instead of this thing that you do when you fall in love. I think shout out to the divorce attorneys. They have really good jobs because people are going to get married to people they should not be married to just to get married. Like literally people think because I exist, I came down on this planet, I'm supposed to find a man to partner with and spend my whole life with. No, you would not think like that if no one told you to think like that, honestly. And I'm not saying that you're not smart. I'm not saying that you're easily influenced, but what I'm saying is we belong to a culture and live in a society where communities of people look at being single as a punishment and look at marriage as some type of reward and accomplishment. And people literally run around on the internet all day and in real life shaming people for not being married. There's still groups of people like that. And the only reason why they think like that is because they were conditioned and programmed to think like that. If you came down on this earth and nobody told you that you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to go to school, and you're supposed to get married, and you're supposed to have a baby, and you're supposed to have a house, and you're supposed to have a lifelong partner, you wouldn't want any of that. You wouldn't even desire that. All of this shit you've been told that that is what you're supposed to do. A man is supposed to do this. No, he's not. He's really not. And neither are you. He's not supposed to do anything. But Deshawn didn't want to leave her marriage, didn't want to admit that she couldn't get renewed for RHOA because of how it looks. Because of how it was going to look. That's embarrassing. The staying in a marriage after somebody had a baby on you and then like literally going to counseling, like what are you getting counseling for? And shout out to y'all who have stayed in a relationship with somebody after they had a baby on you. um Go have a margarita today because you deserve it, because bitch, I could never, I would never. He would not be able to rest around me. Have a baby on me, you would not be able to rest, you wouldn't be able to sleep, you would want a divorce. You would be like, oh, you know what, actually I actually don't feel safe in this house anymore. Yeah, you shouldn't. Can you don't even want to try the food. Can you taste the food for me first? Because I don't know, she could have put some rat poison in it. She could have, I don't know. Where's my water? I think it's right there, but that water is not cold. So shout out to Deshawn Snow. Hopefully she's more attuned in her life right now, that she is able to recognize when things are askew and not know what the fuck is happening, because the fact that she didn't know, like it's too many times like in her life. And I really wish, and I'm probably go watch the whole interview, that she says, what if I was that person now, it would be different. But at an early age, and more women need to say like, hey, that's an interview question. Okay, now that you've gone through all of this, right? Now that you know what you know, what would you have told you 15 years ago? I know I would have told me when I was getting my things and packing them and getting ready to move to Atlanta. If I were me, if I were me now telling Erica then, 30-year-old Erica, I would have told her, don't move to Atlanta, get a passport, solo travel at 30 years old. That's what you do. Do not move to Atlanta. Do not get in a relationship. Do not have two kids. Stay on your path and solo travel. If people want to come with you, they can come with you. If not, if I were me now and telling 29-year-old Erica, who's like, "Ooh, I'm about to move to Atlanta to buy a house because I want to have the American dream." Girl, yes, I've got my house within a year of living there. I did it. I accomplished it. I bought a house, blah, blah, blah. But girl, no. But anyways, if I were me now talking to a 29-year-old Erica and she came to me and was like, girl, I want to move to Atlanta because I want to buy me a house because it's cheaper to buy a house in Atlanta, in Georgia, than it is in California. I would have said, girl, save your money, get a passport, and get your ass on a plane. Travel. Downsize your apartment, downsize your apartment and travel. You don't need this big ass apartment. You basically just need this apartment to hold your luggage because you're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna keep moving. You're gonna be a nomad out this motherfucker. But then you think about that. I had a past life reading and the woman told me nothing. She knew, when I tell you she knew nothing about me. And she told me I was on my fourth life and I'm always traveling with, it's always you solo with two boys. Every life that I've lived. She said, you always had two boys with you. So I've always reconciled, because for me, when I looked back at my life, I used to have regrets. If you've been following me down here for any amount of time, you may have heard the way that I speak about like choices that I've made. There was a lot of regret in those decisions, right? Then I reconciled that when I had that past life reading, and the woman was like, yeah, you were traveling with two boys. So now I have two sons. So I've always put that together, like they were supposed to be here. Yes, unfortunately, I chose a partner who actually is undeserving of offspring, should never have the reward or the honor of having offspring, should have never, right? That's something that I cannot change. They're here now, but I always reconcile with that past life reading, like, oh, okay, they are here. They're supposed to be here. And I'm their Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm the one that's guiding them to the next step so that they can, I've been granted that honor of being a parent and helping guide two human beings into their next chapter, into their phases of their lives. And I should actually feel, honored that I was chosen to be somebody's parent. You understand what I'm saying? So I've reconciled that. But a lot of that, like feeling guilty, regret, wondering how things are going to look, and then being, I think women, when we have these conversations, and men, when we have these conversations about choices we made or experiences that we have, it's so important to say, if I were to give that person advice, this is what I would have done, right? Like the Steels, y'all are talking about these awful ways, these awful relationship dynamics, him cheating on you constantly, getting his clothes ready to go meet a side chick. Would you give advice to your daughter to do that now? No, you wouldn't. So I think it's responsible, and it's a part of being accountable, by saying, if I knew what I would not tell anybody to do this. This was something I did. I probably shouldn't have stayed, but nobody wants to say that with the person that did cause the damage, them sitting right here as your husband, right? And she's saying, oh, well, I've known him since I was 18, 19 or whatever. But he sat there and was like, oh, she wasn't my type. That's not the kind of girl I went for. And yes, it was 30 years ago, but there are people watching y'all as leaders and, you know, guidance counselors or whatever the fuck y'all be doing down there at the church. They're looking at you. And so when you don't say, oh, I wouldn't do that now. Yeah, I was going through all that when I was like in my early 20s. And yes, that was a trial for me that I had to go through. And but what I know now, I would not have done that. If I had me as a mother and I was going through that, looking at me, I would say, don't go through that. Don't allow yourself. But you can't do that, especially if the community around you are also wound up. If the community of women are wound up, the girl has no hope. That's why I don't know why PJ just jumped into my head, because if the community of women around you ain't shit, I don't have hope for the little girl unless she figures out, like, oh, wait, there's a way out. There's an exit sign above that door. Let me make my way out, because Diane and Portia Diane, they are crazy, girl. And if I don't get the fuck out soon, I'm gonna end up like them. And I don't want to. But if the community of women around you aren't thinking with a clear mind and their eyes aren't unwound, then it's hard for, it's difficult. I'm sure there's plenty of you who have been the one to be like, girl, this is crazy. I know it was for me. When I've seen these male identified women and these pick me's and these mammies waiting on men hand and foot, I tell you guys all the time, on my paternal side, not on my maternal side, on the other side, the paternal side, she was, with my grandfather for 70 something years. They talk about their relationship, but she was very much make your husband's plate, always made my grandfather's plate. I don't even, I can think about the time I ever saw my grandfather in the kitchen cooking dinner. No. Barbecuing, yes. Cooking himself breakfast, yes. But I don't ever remember him cooking dinner, being in the kitchen, none of that. Not on my dad's side. But my grandmother, my aunts, my cousin, girl, they had to take care of men. They ultimately had to take care of men who abused them. Not my cousin. He filed for divorce. I don't think, just like Deshawn Snow, I don't think she would have ever filed for divorce if her husband did not file for divorce. He left her because she watched her grandmother, watch her mother stay with men or stay in relationships that they should have left a long time ago. Now my grandmother and my aunt are without their husbands. Their husbands have died, but they took care of their husbands until their death. The same men who harmed them and abused them. And when I tell y'all, the state, the health, the state of health that the boy's father is in, if I watch that, and I imagine, had I been the daughter of my dad's sister, like if I had been on that side, I probably would have stayed with somebody who I ultimately had to take care, because that motherfucker can't see now. And I would have ultimately had to take care of a motherfucker who had to hold on to my shoulder to walk around places. I would have had that mindset. My cousin had that mindset. He left her. I don't imagine she would have left, because she watched her mom stay with her dad. Her dad abused her mother. She watched her grandmother stay with her grandfather, hearing stories about the abuse and the alcoholism, listening to those stories. So when you're in the community of women, it's hard to get out of that, because they're all telling you and modeling a behavior that is toxic. So you have to get out some way. And shout out to the people who can get out. I used to be called lazy, right? Because during the holidays, when we're all at my grandmother's house, all the women are where in the kitchen, all the men are sitting on the couch watching sports, my dad controlling the television. Can't nobody else hold the remote control but my father, because the boy child is always put above, male identified, pick me, all of the things. And I used to be called lazy. I used to be called lazy because all the women were in the kitchen and all the men were sitting around. And because I wasn't up being a maid, I got called lazy. And I would be sitting among the men, sitting on the couch next to my grandfather, sitting on the couch next to my dad. I would be sitting on the couch. Erica, why ain't you up cleaning up? Y'all could what am I doing? That girl, that's not my ministry, girl. Absolutely not. You're lazy. Okay. Are y'all not calling these niggas lazy? I'm lazy because I'm not up being a maid while y'all stand in the kitchen cleaning up the kitchen and stuff like that. I'm not cleaning up no kitchen after no niggas. Are you crazy? I'm not doing that. That's y'all ministry, not the kid. Absolutely not. So I would get called lazy in a house of mammies and maids and mules and mattresses. I'm not doing that. Girl, y'all nuts. I'm not doing that. Literally get called lazy for that. Girl, mess. And that's just what it is. If you have a community of women around you who are talking that shit, and that's why when you're in those church, you're like, oh, it's a cult. It is a cult. Cult is culture. It's a cult. All of y'all are following the same culture, and the culture is being ride or die, being a maid, being a mule, being a mattress, allowing men to do whatever the fuck they want to do in a relationship because they're just men. Like, all that is culture. So if you don't step out, if somebody's not tugging on you to step out, you're just going to keep repeating the same thing, even down to the point where, what's her name saying? Steele, Pastor Steele, whatever her name is, she saying she was mad at her mom when she was 8 years old for leaving her dad. And then you got Deshawn Snow over here saying, oh, I'm staying with my husband even after he had a baby out of me. Do you see the culture where you allow the man to just do whatever the fuck he wants to do, and you're over there peeping through the windows, cleaning up after him, folding his, what she say, ironing his clothes, getting ready to go see the next bitch? Girl, when I said, she should have said right then and there, now that's something I would never have my daughter do. I was, you don't even speak to the fact that your brain was mush, but it's still mush because you over there, he, him, God, and he, him, God, and he, him, God. So anyways, I gotta go. So let me know what y'all think about Deshawn Snow. Let me know if there's any stories. Are you the one that you were in a culture of women that the women were trained to put up and conditioned to put up with the bad behavior of men in their lives, brothers, fathers, uncles? And when I say men in their lives, not just your intimate partner. So unless, when you get out of that culture, let me know if you were in that culture, if you were in the idea that, you ride or die or put up with, or whatever the culture is. Get down in the comments and let me know. And or were you the one, like they call us black sheeps, I guess, where you're just like, I'm not doing none of this shit. Y'all look crazy as hell cleaning up after grown ass men, but then thinking it's okay to the point where you don't even want men in the kitchen. Girl, that's crazy as hell. No, 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 no. We're not playing those games. That's why I tell my kids, I don't ever want, if I ever see you acting like you don't know how to cook, that you don't know how to clean up after yourself, I'm letting everybody know. He knows how to clean up after himself. He knows, don't let him fucking play with you. And they better not even think about doing no lazy shit like that where a woman is running around cleaning up after them. Girl, I'm going to let everybody know. Girl, they know how to cook. Probably know how to cook better than you. Girl. Anyways, take care of each other. Protect your energy. Let's get down in the comments. Peace.